Juice.
Now it's official.
It's official. Yo, I think last time we left off, I threw down a gauntlet challenge for somebody to go take a listing. Did anybody do that?
I did.
You did? I can't hear you.
Sarah, it's a little tough to hear you.
Sorry, I'm in my car.
Did you take a listing in the last week?
I did, yes.
Hell yeah. Thank you. Tell me about that.
I got a mother and daughter house, 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 3 living rooms, nice backyard. It's about 3,000 square foot.
I'm not gonna buy it. I don't want to hear about the listing. I want to hear about the client and where they came from and how you generated it in the last week.
It's actually, I didn't have to do any efforts. It's my brother. It was just luck.
Okay, that doesn't count then. Congratulations on your come with me. But I hope you maximize it. Come to the training on how to maximize a listing and get more listings from your listings. But the gauntlet yesterday was to go and pull a listing out of thin air, to go and find one in the marketplace of somebody you don't really know and convince them to work with you. Did anybody do that? Is what I was talking about. Hearing none.
No.
We will continue the training. I extend my challenge. It would still be cool if somebody did that in a week. Somebody in this group is going to do that first. And I'm challenging you to say that it's totally possible to go and do that in a 24-hour period. I'm setting the expectation of what's possible, not the expectation of what you have to do or whatever. But gun to your head, it would be possible to go and get a signed listing agreement, get into business with some seller and go through the process. And if you want to take 50 listings in a year, that's kind of the attitude that you have to have, where you train your brain. If you want to get neuroscientific about it, it's your reticular activating system. You just say, I'm going to take a listing in 24 hours. And if the stakes were high enough, you could do it. And you would. And you figure out a way to do it. And you go out and think of the best way to do it, probably a for sale by owner person, and make your case and form a relationship. So you have 7 24-hour periods between now and the next training to do that. Let's see who can do it first. Anyway, we left off with the process. In order to do 50 listings or more or whatever, and then also in order to get your first listing, to be part of an organization and have a team and have leverage, to be professional, to set yourself apart from everybody else, we were going through our listing logistics process. The process and the system and the models and tools and your professionalism is a part of how you get the listings. You're articulating how you are different than every other standard realtor. I'm gonna since Sarah just got a Sphere listing, which is amazing. That's how that is your competition, is somebody, a seller defaulting to the person that they know. Sarah, literally the words out of her mouth was, I didn't have to do anything. I was lucky. It was basically like, I didn't have to do anything to get this listing, right? Which is awesome for Sarah. That's an opportunity for you, because if you are doing it a lot and you happen to be in touch with that seller, that is your competition, not who the biggest name in the town that you want to work in the most, or the name that you know in the town that you live in as the one with the most listings. That person is not really your competition. If you're in Belmar, your competition is not really Eddie Shumsky. I mean, it kind of is. But if you're whichever town you're in, that person is not really your competition. Your competition is way more the person who does a few deals a year, that the next seller that was gonna maybe work with you or would be open to it, or if they heard your pitch, would work with you, they're just gonna default to the person that's next to them. Not to take anything away from the relationship in the Sphere deal, that's all great. But if you can do both, you're gonna have more listings. So anyway, we last left off with, we covered media and how to articulate that. Can anybody explain to me or remind me the purpose of the listing logistics sheet and when you do it?
Purpose of.
Why did we make that sheet
Oh,
and
so
when
that
do you use it?
when you're face to face with the client on the appointment, so you can get all the details hashed out in real time.
Correct. Specifically when in the appointment. What's the thing in the checklist right before the listing logistics gets filled out? What's a prerequisite for the listing logistics sheet?
Oh, the listing agreement filled out and signed.
Yeah, you get them to decide to work with you and sign the piece of paper. As soon as the signature is done, I fold it up, I put it in my bag. It's all done. It's there's no option to take it out and tear it up. It's just away. We are working together. Here's how we're going to do that. And I'm already providing value and I'm cool. It's amazing. Remember that system I just told you about? That starts right now. I'm going to provide all this value and take away headaches and make this real estate thing really easy for you starting right now. Boom. And they're like, oh, sweet. What's this? Say, cool. Now I'm going to ask you, the script is, does anybody remember the script to start the listing logistics sheet so that you're not there for another hour? Because guess what? That's how long it'll take if you don't.
Oh, so
say
I'm
the
gonna
script.
ask like a ton of questions. We're just gonna rattle them off and short, concise answers kind of thing.
Especially the latter part.
Yeah.
You could make it sound like a light lift and say, I've got a few logistical questions that always come up. And we go through this systematic process to make the process way easier for you. It's going to go fastest. These questions are kind of boring, but they are important. And if we do this in a very back and forth robotic manner, I'll get it done really quick and I'll be on my way and you can have the rest of your evening and we can get to work on the marketing. Sound good? Cool. So I'm just going to read a question. You give me just the answer and then wait for me to ask the next question without anything else. If you have any other questions, I'll answer them at the end. But let's get through this checklist, okay? And I show it to him on my iPad. Awesome. First question, X, Y, Z. Fill out the things. When you get to the end of the list, it's going to say type of lockbox. We went through everything, including the media. You should just be filling this out. And then when you get to, there's a section about the sign, the lockbox, and open houses. So say what type of yard sign. We could probably actually update this and delete the black frame one.
Yeah, I'm
but
gonna do it now.
we only do quality white post signs where it says condo or townhouse. Some of them will not allow you to put a sign in the ground. So you can just put one of the signs in the window. Or if there's some weird scenario, you can put there. Like I did a waterfront house and put two signs, one in the front and one on the back on the lagoon, right? So you fill out the type of sign. It's always going to be a tick. Is it installed? Sign status, showing instructions you go through. So the sign, when you take a listing, and if really you should be doing, if your goal should be to be carrying 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. One time I had like 17 listings or whatever when we were going together. I'm not trying to brag, but like it's possible. You should be having a lot of these things. So if you're in the routine of this, if you go in with the confidence and you're good at what you're doing, I would always go there with a sign, a lockbox, and anything else that I needed. And I would get all this information and have it all set up. I would expect to get a key from these people. So we'll cover the sign and the lockbox. Like you should learn how to do a sign. The instructions are in the university. Figure it out. It's not that hard. And then just install the sign while you're there. The one thing about that is you got to do it where the media is not going to see it. The sign is not supposed to be in there for the photos. If you have a rapport and relationship with the seller, say, hey, I want to make this really easy for you. I don't want to bother you. I want to do this on your time. We're not allowed to take a picture of the sign in the media. I want to make sure they showcase the sign. So what I'm going to do is leave the sign here on your side of your house. I've actually shown the sellers how to install the sign. You can put it wherever you want in case it blows down. You don't have to bother calling anybody. I make it like a value add almost. I said, or I can come back and throw the sign up real quick. You just sign a listing. You're going to make thousands of dollars selling this house. Put a sign in the ground. Have it with you. It's an easy thing. If somebody else is driving by and you can ask a favor or whatever, that's cool. but that's basically the program for where they're at. They get a little rider on it, and just get that logistical thing out of the way. I would try to put them in and put it in a place where it's not going to get in the way of the media. But you do have to be mindful of it not being in the way of the media, because by law, they can't take a picture of the sign in the, it can't go in the MLS. So if you put the sign in a place to save yourself a trip or try to be leveraged and smart, you've got to be that smart that the media hasn't happened yet, and you got to be mindful of that so that they can do it. If they can get all the shots they need without the sign, cool. If they can't, then you can leave the sign on the property if you want to get it out of your car or whatever, and then just plan a separate tour to that place or whatever. You should not be going to the house to supervise the media or whatever. Get out of the way of the media person. Let them do their job. It just clouds up the issue. You need to give them specific instructions if there's something that's very specific to the seller, but you don't act like you're the media director and get in the way of we hire a professional media company so that we don't have to do that, right? If you were getting your friend who just bought a camera and trying to hook them up with a real estate job and you had to dictate it to try to save a couple bucks on media, if you're whatever, like, people do that, but that's not a smart way to do it. We work with professionals for a reason, and that is the reason. So explain that to your sellers if you need to, and find out what's important to them about the house, what they love most about it. And if there's anything super special, then your role is to be articulate about what that is so that it definitely happens with the media company. If it doesn't happen, rely on the service of our awesome world-class media company. Motion City Media has amazing customer service. And if the client is unsatisfied with the photos, you should take some ownership if you didn't communicate it. So do your role in the part there. But in the event that there is a mix-up, they can schedule a reshoot or handle that and address the issue with the client directly. And the smartest thing you can do is get the hell out of the way and let the professionals do their job. So I kind of switched from signs to lock boxes, but that's the program with the signs. I also always verbalize, hey, if your sign blows down, call the office phone number and we can coordinate that. You don't want them calling you at 11 p.m. at night in the middle of a nor'easter that the sign blew down. It's not a life-threatening emergency. That's something that can get put in Slack and handled when it gets handled. It's not something that is, something that should be coming to your cell phone for. Lock boxes. Just lock boxes. Yeah, will the owner allow a lockbox? Yes. You kind of have to. I've run into maybe 2 or 3 potential listings where they were like, "No, you have to be present at the showing." So I was like, "Look, I'm not going to take the listing. It's not going to fit in our system. That's just not going to work. I have too many other listing appointments. It'll be easier for me to go get 3 more listings than to try to accommodate all the showings at your house with all of your random ass memorabilia that you care so much about. And I care about it for you too, but you're not ready to sell your house appropriately if you're not going to get maximum exposure for your house if you expect somebody to sit here and wait in the house for people to come and look at it. Or you're going to deal with an agent who doesn't have any experience and absolutely nothing else going on, who is available, but then won't be able to negotiate for you and negotiate you enough time to clean out all of your baseball cards or whatever is so valuable in your basement. Not to diminish these things, but they're just not ready to sell their house if that's the process. Anyway, for the lockbox, you want to be using your convincing skills to say the lockbox is there a question I saw a ping, but I didn't see the question. Keep going. Okay.
Keep going.
You want to be explaining to them the value of the lockbox. Some clients will have concern about their house. This is reasonable. It's totally reasonable for somebody to be like, "Hey, I've never sold a house before. You're asking, I just met you, right? I Googled you. You came to my house. You called me from a cold call, and now you're sitting in my living room. And that's cool because you look not threatening, but you're asking for a key to my house now, and you want to come in my house when I'm not here." It's totally reasonable for a client to have some questions about that. And you need to put them at ease with how that works. So on a high level about the lockbox, the root concern underneath all this is people are just aware that they're concerned about that process of like being in, sorry, I'm like in the sun trying to not bake myself. So they're aware that somebody's going to come in their house that they don't know. And that's a fear-based concern that's actually kind of rational. If you explain the system to them to say, hey, here's how this works so that we get maximum exposure for your house. We want to increase the availability of times that people can come into the house, you know, after work, on the weekends, so we can get the most people through the door and the most offers and the most money for your house. Now, to address this, to make sure you understand how this process works, you don't have to say to address your safety concern unless they bring it up, but preemptively do it and say, hey, so this is how the system works. We have this awesome app called Showing Time. And that's where you get to control and dictate with our director of operations when people can come and tour your property, not intrude on your house, right? Nobody's going to come in while you're sleeping, right? You get to control the times that your property is available. Now, we encourage you to make that at the peak times for showings, and the more the merrier. But if you got something going on, or you're not feeling well, or you've got to get ready for a dance rehearsal or a business meeting in your house, or you feel it's not ready, or you spilt milk, you can actually just control the time, block out that time on the calendar. Nobody can come in your house during that time, right? They can't even request the showing. So that's awesome. And then in addition, the only people who have access to request the showings are licensed realtors. So people like me who are regulated by the Department of Banking and the Real Estate Commission and have been fingerprinted and background checked are the only people that have access to this box. And I show it to them. And I say, there's no way you can get in this thing even with a mallet, right? So this is as secure or more secure than the lock on your door right now. We're going to put the key in here, and this is how it works. And there's a special app. And the other awesome thing about this, which will help us negotiate and get offers on your property, is that this app and this device actually track who's in the house. So if there was ever, if they seem like they're concerned about it, be like, hey, if there was an issue or something missing from your house, if they stole your Ty Cobb baseball card that I see right there, that's so awesome. You love baseball cards that much. If they happen to steal that baseball card, and it was there at 11 a.m. and not there at 3 p.m., we would know the license number, and they're registered with the Department of Banking in the state of New Jersey Real Estate Commission, who is responsible for the property under that window of time. Got it? So they're tracked, right? So that's how that's going. Really on the upside, and what you should really focus on, this is something I learned from Kyle Whistler yesterday, a phrase, said you should be prepared to go there in the conversation if they bring it there. You don't need to take them there with all the scary stuff, right? If they come to you and bring up something concerning about safety, be prepared to address it with the safety thing in mind. And that script that I just gave you about the Real Estate Commission and tracking and everybody's responsible and that whole thing and their legal background and fingerprint, all that shit is true. People aren't aware of that. So if they're concerned about it, be prepared to go there, but you don't need to take it there. When I do describe the process, if they have any hesitancy about the lockbox, I don't necessarily go to the safety thing. I bring it towards the optimistic version of like, hey, we have their information, and as soon as the showing's over or whenever it's next appropriate, within 24 hours, if we don't receive a written offer, if they don't love it so much they write an offer, one of the services we provide is I'm going to make a voice-to-voice phone call and follow up with these people and find out, are they interested in writing an offer? Would they consider it, or any feedback, so that we have actual data from real buyers? Because like I said, our marketing plan is proven to get exposure, and we won't know until it goes online or on the world at that point in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, what the actual data is from those buyers in that scenario. Especially now when the market's shifting, I can tell you what the rearview mirror looks like and where I think you should position yourself given what's anticipating in the next few weeks. But that's part of the way that we get that data that we talked about to inform us where the buyers really are. If they don't write an offer, or we can't get them to write an offer, we're going to shoot for at least real feedback from a real live buyer that's been in that property in that time, right? I'm having a price reduction awareness conversation while I'm informing them about the lockbox. Right? So here's how the lockbox works. You give me a key. If you have one now, take the wife's key. Like, oh, we don't have an extra copy of the key. Awesome. You guys said you work from home, right? Can I maybe take Susie's key and Joey, you guys just share a key for 24 hours. You can stop at the hardware store tomorrow instead of me driving back and forth 5 times. Let's do 2 and 2 together. Give me one of the keys. I'm going to put it in the box, shut it up, right? Or if you need to, I show them how it works. I have it apart when I get there and I demonstrate it and I show it to them. And then I take it apart and I say, I'm going to put this out here on the gas line, or I don't like to put it on the front door. I think it looks kind of ugly or whatever, and it's a little annoying to be using it there. I like to put it on the gas meter or somewhere it's easy to find, but not right on the door, right? We're selling a product, this house, and the house is not going to have a lockbox on it when you're buying it, right? Make it easy to find for the realtor, but not in the eye of the consumer is my whatever. It's not a price tag on the Tesla when you go into the showroom. So that's a lockbox. Get a key then. If you cannot install and put the key, we just don't physically have a key. Okay. You need to go make a key. I don't want to make a separate chip for the lockbox. So I can take the shackle part, the top of the lockbox, right? I can go put the the box itself on the gas meter, and I can leave the little black holster part with them. It has a green and yellow sticker on it that a goddamn chimpanzee can work out, with a picture of a key on it with a hole that it goes in. If they can't figure it out, you got to go to the house again, right? But it's so idiot proof that they should be able to figure it out. So instruct them and show them how foolproof it is and say, hey, this is how it works. When you get your copy of the key, just drop it in the slot, pop it in the holster. It's right on the gas line. Got it? Never had an issue with doing that. And if you do, we can get another holster. Like it shouldn't be that big of an issue. So that's the lockboxes. Bring them with you when you're going on a listing appointment that you're confident about doing. Figure it out. Take a picture of the lockbox, where it is on the property. Upload it to Slack and make sure that a separate picture has the serial number of the lockbox on it in that thing, and put it into Slack with the thing. Lauren has something to say about that too.
Thank you. I can't find the raise hand button, so I'm just pretending it's here. So really quick, I created a Slack channel. It's lockboxes. So I didn't want to confuse all of you before this call. So once we get off, everybody on the team will be added to this Slack channel, and that's where you're going to dump these photos. So you don't need to upload a photo into listing logistics. You're literally just dropping the address and the photo of the lockbox location and serial number. So I know where these things are at all times. So there will be a Slack channel after this call. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah, think to do that. It's really helpful because people that barely graduated high school and then at some point in their life got their real estate license and sell one house a year are going to be showing this house and can't figure out where to look for a lockbox because they don't do it all the time. Let's say somebody new. I'm not trying to be mean. I realize I'm kind of being mean. Sometimes it's hard to find the lockbox, and sometimes you have to put it in a place that's not so self-evident. Let's be nicer, okay? So that photo pointing to where the lockbox is hidden under something or whatever, if they don't have a gap, whatever it is, if it's hard to find, point it out. And then that photo in Slack will be available for Nor or Lauren if one of those agents is pinging the office line or wherever. Say, hey, where's the lockbox? Or they call the number on the sign, and it goes to the lead phone. That photo is right there. And at times when you're moving really fast, it's beneficial to have that where somebody could screenshot it from Slack and text it to the agent and be like, here it is. I'm so glad I was able to help you find this blue box. Yes, Adria.
Can you put it in the agent notes, like lockbox on gas meter or?
Yeah, that does happen, but God bless our realtor colleagues
That don't
rarely
read them.
read that.
Okay.
Yeah. we're being smart enough to know that of the 30,000 people in New Jersey that have their real estate license and might show your house, 4 or 5 of them might read the agent notes, 4 or 5%, let's say.
Okay.
I'll own the fact that I have rocked up to a house and not had time to read the agent notes or not bothered myself. I'll throw myself under the bus too, and I could put myself in that category of lazy people too. A photo would have helped me many times. So anyway, that's what's up with lockboxes. These things are like $120 a piece. So that's why we ask you to take 3 seconds to take a picture and drop it into Slack and help us keep track of them, because the team pays for them. And it's a legitimate expense that adds up, especially if you're taking a bunch of listings. So we have them as a resource. Just please be mindful that they're not $3 a piece or free. What else do we got? Open houses. Open houses. Open houses. I feel like Jimmy Buffett and fruitcakes. Women, we all want them. We all got them. What do we do with them? Listen to the song. Religion. He like goes through all the topics and does a little verse on each of the topics. Mea culpa, mea culpa. Mea maxima culpa. So
Okay, open houses.
Open houses can be beneficial and a great, my script, I'll just give my script to this. I'll role play what I do on a listing appointment for your enjoyment. The upshot for this on the back end of the team is when you're taking a listing, ultimately you are committing, you are the listing agent, you're representing the sale of the property. And if you represent to the seller that you are going to provide the service of an open house, there's plenty of things to do. So you don't have to sit the open house if you don't want to, or you want to be on ideally you should be on another listing appointment if you're really smoking for leverage. But if you're not going to be sitting the open house for the leads for yourself, it's your responsibility to cover it. So, and if nobody else can cover it, then ultimately it's a listing agent's responsibility to handle it, to find coverage, to handle that program, and to, and in the event that there's a cancellation, either cancel it with the seller and deal with the blowback and the relationship. The listing agent owns the relationship with the client, and is ultimately responsible for it. So that's the protocol. So now there are some listings. Now I'm speaking from reality and in a business sense. There's some listings that it's really great to hold an open house at for business. Like you will get great leads from it. And it's a really valuable use of time. One of the realtors I do look up to, Eddie Shumsky, he had words out of his mouth one time when I was talking to him. He's like, one of the highest dollar per hour activities I've ever done in my life is sit open houses. So dude crushes. That's what he says about open houses. Maybe you should listen and be really pumped on open houses. He does them right. And the houses are priced right. And he knows what to say in them. And he follows up rigorously and blah, 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 blah. So open houses can be a fantastic opportunity. Sell them if you want them. And if you want more deals, if you don't have more deals than you know what to do with, you should probably be sitting open houses. If you don't want to sit the open house, if you got plans on Sunday or whatever's happening, then find coverage for it. It's an amazing opportunity for everybody else on the team. If you are just getting your first few deals, or you don't have it, if you're not surpassing your goal already or on track to surpass your goal, you should be time blocking your time on Sunday afternoons to be available for open houses and paying attention when listings get signed in the listing Slack channel and waiting for the opportunity and offering to host open houses, right? That's a good way to help get yourself out there and be first in line or chomping at the bit to get it covered. And it's a two-way street. If you got the skill of getting listings, you're providing opportunities for others. If you don't have the listings yet and you don't have that leverage, then you should be really eager to be available on the weekends to jump in there and cover for the people that are doing that. That said, the conversation with the seller, the downside to open houses is it's super inconvenient. It's a big block of time for the sellers to be out of the house on the weekends, right? In reality, in the God's honest truth, I believe, is that the vast majority of consumers are seeing the property online through syndicated websites like Zillow and Realtor.com, Trulia, and wherever else. They're seeing the property, right? And if they want to come and see it, they'll see it. If there's an open house, that might be a little more convenient. But if they're not going to bother booking a private showing around the schedule that's available through a realtor, they're not really serious about that house. They're just checking it out, right? You might get some price feedback, but they are not really serious buyers. So in the seller's best interest, they may feel good about more traffic in the house, but really it doesn't mean anything, right? So that's the traffic through open house most of the time, and nosy neighbors, right? Those people are amazing potential clients for agents. They are not really the most valuable buyers for that specific property most of the time. Obviously, there's exceptions to the rule. Now, if you are making your value proposition and your value is in negotiation and the understanding of the market, you can articulate how the internet is how people see properties, and our media does this, and the way we market the property does all that stuff, and our ad spend to boost it, and all the other things that we do in your listing presentation. You can downplay the efficacy of an open house and kind of lean into their inconvenience and their open. Hey, if you don't want if they mention being afraid, you could lean into that and say, hey, an open house, there's multiple parties in the house at once. It's not a private showing, right? So if you want to err on the side of privacy, like when I was super busy, I was like, yo, I know I have listing appointments booked on Sunday, or I want to spend time with my family. I would downplay open houses. I would lean into the seller's, apprehensions about the open house, knowing that I'm not shortchanging them on any opportunity because our marketing is going to do the job that they actually need to get done. And I would articulate that in a way that made sense for them. And then they would be like, yeah, you know what, honey? They'd be at the dining room table. You know what, honey? Yeah, let's not even do it open house. Yeah, that's inconvenient. I don't want all the people in my house. And my script around this, and I believe this in my heart of hearts, is say, hey, they'll ask you, say, what do you think about open houses, bro? And you say, look, and this is what I say. Open houses can be a useful tool to sell a house. They used to be one of the primary ways to sell a house and an important, really integral part of the marketing plan, where now they're sort of optional in most cases, right? And because of all that stuff that we talked about, the internet, that's why, right? So right now we can use it. It's useful for tool, but in all honesty, it's actually a better opportunity for us as a business, for future business, than it is to sell this particular house. The job can definitely get done, and we absolutely found this out in COVID, where houses can definitely transact with online marketing without an open house, definitely not every weekend. We use them strategically. If you feel strongly about wanting an open house, I strongly advise that we do one the weekend we go live, Sunday 1 to 3. That's what the data shows is best for sales. We'll do one at launch. And then we will have the feedback we need because we price appropriately and we have that open house. And on Monday, we'll be able to figure out what's going on. We'll have our private showings up until then. We'll have an open house as a final opportunity to get people through the door and all the feedback. I will have all that data. We will have a phone call Monday morning. If we don't have offers, we will know where to be standing and what to do. Right now, I'm advising clients to wait about 2 weeks on the market. Still have some good activity if we're priced appropriately, even though the market is shifting. After that open house, we're going to have some real data about what's up when your house is on the market based on whoever else pops up and whatever else is going on. Does that make sense to you? Cool. So we'll schedule one open house, 1 to 4. Now, back to the overarching picture, is the house actually priced appropriately? Do I think it's going to sell in that first week? Is it just going to be one open house? I would imagine that there's going to be more houses with an open house every single weekend because the agents don't know how to have that conversation about open houses, and the houses will sit for longer. We are already seeing houses sitting for longer days on market. So if you're on the listing appointment and you build up open houses, or the seller thinks that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, you are ultimately signing up to be there every weekend until the house sells. So I would be having that conversation right then about the price and everything else and saying the consumer wants that one window and responds best. That's what gets the best outcome for people. Put yourselves in the buyer's shoes. If I'm watching a property and I see it come online on my phone because it came up in my search notifications because it's in the right price band for what I'm looking for, and I see it, and it has an open house the first weekend, and I see all the saves and all the clicks on Zillow like everybody else. And then I see they have an open house, and I know that I've seen other properties sell. I know the value because I've been watching the market for a year, and then I see an open house, and then I see the second weekend they have another open house, and I see the third weekend they have another open house. I'm going to think that that seller is desperate, and I know that their price is a little high, and I know that they're desperate because there's multiple open houses. So if I do ever get around to writing an offer, I'm going to lowball them, and you would get a lower number than you probably would otherwise. If you price it appropriately and it's done in a weekend, you're not going to have that situation. Does that make sense to you, Mrs. Mr. Seller? Yes. Okay, cool. Let's do one open house the day we launch, price appropriately. I've already mentioned where the price should be, right? And then in the price reduction conversation, like the price reduction conversation begins at the listing appointment, is something to say, and that is, you're future pacing in the unlikely event of a price improvement. You can set the expectations of, you're planting little seeds of like, hey, these are some benchmark expectations of when this conversation is going to come up. And you're coming at that with the real answer of like, it's only 1,200 houses, so we kind of know what we're doing, and this is what we see works best. I'm just informing you of the system that's best for the sellers, which is true. About 2 weeks on the market. Right now, I would actually give it maybe 3 or 4 in all, like my personal opinion on where the market shifted. I would try to price appropriately and adjust to the market. But if I thought the price was sort of reasonable, not outlandish, but sort of reasonable, and we were getting some showings, I might let it sit for 3 or 4 weeks, maybe. I might say that. I'd say, hey, normally it would be 2. We can maybe go 3. And then we're going to have a conversation about where the feedback is and where the buyers are. You don't even need to say where the price is going to needs to be. You can just say, we're going to have a conversation about where the real buyers are at that time. And you can just inform them the feedback that you get. And we're still talking about open houses in my rambling fashion, but hey, at that time, so our launching strategy is XYZ, go on Tuesday, coming soon, open house, we get feedback on Monday. Hey, it's crickets. I'm okay letting it hang out for a week or 2, given the shift here that we've seen that be okay. Around the week 2 or 3 mark, on our weekly check-in, I'm going to be providing you the data and feedback. And if the feedback is indicating that the price needs to adjust to be where the buyers are, and that's something that you choose to do at that time, when we make, when are we going to get another open house? Hey, it's not worth posting an open house to look desperate until we adjust the price, because that's what really moves the needle. And you can go right back to the data, and this is just straight facts. If you look at the data on Zillow, on the back end of our dashboard on Zillow, or the traction on any of our websites, what happens? I'm going to actually do my whiteboard now. Whiteboard's new. Thank you, Lauren, for so rapidly getting that. You did that very quickly. I'm just going to share my screen. Start broadcast. I'm going to draw the graph. All right. New picture. Okay. If you draw a graph, oh my God, this is going so slow. Can you guys see this?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right. If you draw a graph of exposure and you have a new listing go live, it's going to go like this. Boom. Why is it going so slow? Okay. It'll have an initial spike, and then it'll kind of plateau. The God's honest truth, Zillow used to have a feature where you could see other properties, like comparable properties, and they would definitely be lower than our marketing efforts and our profiles. That second line I just drew is the profile arc of other properties. And our properties, because of our marketing plan, God's honest truth, would spike just like that, way above other properties. And then even when they plateaued, they would be significantly higher than other properties. And we're talking about, like, if another property would get 50 views a day, we were getting like 85 or 110 views a day. And the clicks and saves were kind of proportional to that. Zillow has hidden this data from us now, but I know that from historical scenarios that is 100% true. You should be able to articulate this, drawing this on a notepad on someone's dining room table. And then show the for sale by owner graph that we made with the listing that Sam had that used to be for sale by owner, and then we listed, and show the results of that in views, clicks, showings, offers, and money. Now, if we do an open house, views go up, but showings don't really. If we make a price adjustment, you'll see a bump like this for like 2 or 3 days, and then it'll plateau again, maybe a little bit higher. Right? You will never reach this plateau again from the initial new listing, especially if it's at the right price, right? If you are in the price band, like if your house should really be under $500,000, I should have drawn that 500 above that line, but I'm drawing 499 now. The difference between 500 and 499 is massive because people will have their filters up to 500,000. If you list at 500,000 even, everybody who has their filter set at that won't see it, right? Articulate this to your sellers, and every price point is like this. $419,000 is obviously better than $420,000. Explain to them that these buyers have settings set up and filters that dictate what they see. And this spike right here is what you should show as a price improvement, a price adjustment. And the only thing that moves the needle is a price adjustment. If we want to put an open house after that and put these two bumps on top of each other to make it, a little bit taller or whatever, get a little bit more exposure, cool. But really what that's doing is just refreshing your marketing efforts, telling the market that you're more serious about meeting them where the data is, and then having another open house then. And so if you're with the seller and you're trying to get them to see the light of day, hey, the buyers are right here. I could get you offers at this price point. We need to move at least closer. You're listed at 600 right now. The market is at 450. We need to get at 525 or something. I should make a little closer numbers, but you need to move them in the right direction. And if they are doing whatever, you can sometimes say, hey, in order to get a price reduction, you may need to host another open house and do that. And you should view that as an opportunity, because if you are doing it, it's a couple weeks later that there's new buyers that have entered the market. People die, people get relocated. Life changes, people find out they're pregnant, all of a sudden they're now in the market, right? Things change. It's a new season. So did I cover everything, Lauren? Oh, let's look at Monday.com.
Okay.
Lauren's going to pull up Monday.com. So if you ever get confused when you take a listing before Thursday, before the weekend, by the time this listing training is over, you'll get added to a Monday.com board with it. And then on here, it says who's doing what. Listing logistics filled out and ping the director of operations. Agent. And then it says administrative, director of operations, media, content creator. Like, it'll say which role in the organization is kind of responsible for each of those things. And you can tick them off. Or Lauren, do you have any commentary on that?
I do. Just real quick. When you get a listing, which I'm very excited about, you'll get, like Gil said, you'll be added to this board. So it has what that action item is and who is responsible for it. So to save time in our Slack going off and just, we're not all here on Slack at the same time, like Nora and myself are here Monday through Friday, not on the weekends. And you're wondering if we got something done or you completed something, there's a column here that's called status. And those are your options. You're working on it, you're waiting on something, need a signature, completed, or it doesn't apply. So all you have to do is update the status only for the things that you are responsible for. And you can also see where we're at for the operations department, what things we've completed on our end. So you can check that at any time without having to constantly, not that I don't love talking to you on Slack, but just to save time for everybody and not having to have full conversations in Slack, you can just check the Monday.com board.
Sick. And this is one of the things, especially if you're new, and most people on our team are mostly new licensees and haven't seen anything else anywhere else. I've talked to agents that work in other offices or whatever, have been in other places before, and they just don't understand how much leverage this team has. Like if you take a listing, you're doing every one of these things. The crazy thing about this business, in real, when I say like business, I mean like if you go to a coffee shop and see a realtor and they sell 5 houses a year, those people couldn't even write down everything that they do for the property. They don't even know what's on this list when they have to do it themselves. Sometimes they leave it out. They don't actually do it, which means we're providing more value to the client than those agents. And they're doing every single one of these things themselves and then forget about it because the only thing that they remember is the thing that they think is most important. And that's visible, getting the signature, hosting the open house, negotiating the deal, right? X, Y, and Z. And they do not count. And then they see a check at the end and they think they only remember the top 3 things and they forget about all the other stuff. And they don't understand the value of their time. And they don't really put 2 and 2 together that their time is really only valuable, or it's way more valuable than if they could be doing the valuable things way more often, they could do way more business and have a life. Because right now, I can tell you, I'm trying to articulate this professionally. Even one client can derail your scenario if you don't have leverage. And even when you have leverage, one client can be a lot. So if you want to do more than one sale, I don't care what the price point is. You can't live off one sale a year. You need to be able to have a systematic thing where you're generating consistent business, and this is the way to do it. So if I was Forrest Gump, I would close with, that's all I have to say about that. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
I would love to spend the last 8 minutes or whatever hearing whoever has a plan on how somebody is going to get a listing. Or you don't have to. It's just, I thought it was awesome when I had them. I'd be curious, has anybody tried to get a listing or have intents to do that? Or is it a goal of theirs to do it? And then I want to hear your game plan on, this is all cool once you do the listing and what you're doing once you have it. But everybody's probably wondering, like, that's all well and good. I would love to have those problems. How do I get the listing? Who here is actively working on that?
Sort of.
Adria's waving. Jason's waving. Who's got somebody that's like closest to the finish line that I could guide them on whatever? Like Jason, you had your hand up. Is there somebody that's like, who here knows of somebody that's gonna sell a house in the next 3 months? Adria, Cass, anybody else? Jason. Are those just, let's say that's just one person. There should be 3 listings on the Zoom call right now. In 10 seconds or less, can anybody describe their scenario? Let's go around the robin here. Adria, real quick, 10 seconds. Who is this person? What's their motivation? And where are you in the process of a listing appointment?
They are a Sphere family friend. They are downsizing. They're empty nesters. Her husband just got out of the hospital with COVID, so they put it on hold till he was back on his feet. I touched base with them. They're looking at a 55 and up community. So they want to tour communities to see what area they want to go to before they meet with me to do a listing appointment.
Awesome.
They're Middletown, their house is pretty nice.
Conversation I would have around that, say, hey, they're definitely going to work with you.
Yes.
Say, awesome. I want to go on your timeline. We definitely don't have to be putting your house on the market. What I'd love to make you aware of, don't force the issue if they're dealing with COVID and stuff. Once they're like sort of back on their feet and they're starting to be like ready to go look at a place, they still have it backwards in their head, especially if they have to sell that place to buy. Even if that's not the case for these people, it will be for somebody else. Remind them, hey, we're still in a seller's market. Like, it has definitely shifted and there's a little more wiggle room in there and there's a few less buyers, but there's still multiple buyers. I'm waiting. You can tell them I'm waiting on a best and final with 5 offers. It's been a week on the market right now. So I want to have a conversation around the game plan. In the event that we go in the first weekend, we find something that you actually love, you won't be prepared. There's a good chance you might miss out on that opportunity and not be prepared to capture that opportunity and miss out on that. If we don't have a conversation about your property, you know where you stand on it financially, and you're prepared in the event you needed to present an offer with your contingency. I can explain to you how we do that and get offers accepted even with contingencies. When's a good time that I can come and at least get an idea? The other thing is there's also people that are still pretty flexible on the buy side and looking for off-market opportunities. We have this special relationship with Zillow and Realtor.com. We're dealing with buyers all the time. If I walk through your property and understand your expectations on price and you understand the market, I might be able to bring you an offer without having to go through the hullabaloo. You could have an offer in hand ready that doesn't want to move here until October. And you can have that knowing where you stand when we are looking out at properties. And we don't even might not even have to put your house fully on the market and deal with an open house with COVID. I know you got concerns with that, right? Think about those things, have that conversation, ask for the appointment for a walkthrough, off-market inventory. Excuse me.
Us.
And then the conversation would be around, hey, let's see where you're at. The dates can change. Excuse me, I'm like having a sneezing fit. I accept your bless you for all my sneezes. Thank you. You need a signed listing agreement, and then we don't have to go live. We can change the date on it. So let's go through, let's see where you're at so you have a better understanding while we're shopping. And if you're prepared, if you have that preparation, if we're submitting an offer, we'll already have done that and be prepared. That'll smooth out your process.
Okay.
Jason, who's your person? What's their scenario?
Yes, it's the new Op City connection. We're meeting on Monday, and they're listing their home in Manalapan and buying 2 condos each.
Sound like poor people.
They're going through a divorce.
I didn't mean like sad life scenario. I just meant like financially poor. I'm joking. I have empathy for this scenario.
Yeah.
Cool. So you found five.
What's the ethics on that? Can I represent both on a purchase?
100%. Yeah.
Cool.
I see no conflict there.
All right.
Say, hey, sorry you're having the situation, but I'd be happy to handle these transactions for you and help you find what suits your best goals in this new phase of your life.
Cool. So hopefully it's three transactions in the next 90 days.
You said 2 condos each.
Well, the 550 sale, a 2 to 250 condo. So I'm assuming the next purchase will be somewhere around there as well.
All right. Whatever. So they're going to sell their house and each of them are going to buy a condo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, especially if they're taking the funds from the listing to buy the condo, they're both going to take the proceeds. I would make the case for myself, for you, say, hey, if you're passing a football, Tom Brady can throw. Somebody's got to catch that ball. I don't know who catches Tom Brady's balls, but who like catches all the touchdowns or whatever. But that's the success is a 2-way street there. in a transaction, especially when you're taking the proceeds from the sale for the purchase, it's really important that the same doctor is doing the heart transplant, right?
Right.
You don't want to have, I'll just pass the heart over to the other doctor and see if they put it in appropriate. It's like, I need to know what's up with both patients and handle that transfer, that transplant. I'm transplanting you and your family in this delicate time. Your heart is already broken. So anyway, that's how I make that case. But yeah, 100%. And I would say, hey, while especially if you're using the proceeds from the sale, it's going to be.
Oh, we lost you.
Oh, Gil,
Yeah.
are you there? All right, well, he's probably gonna hop on. Here he is. Hold on, and then we'll wrap it up because it's almost 1 o'clock. Gil.
This content is lit fire. This is lit fire content for the kids. My iPad overheated in the sun. Yo, what I was saying was, especially if you're taking the proceeds from the sale and putting them for the purchase, it's going to be really beneficial for you guys and smooth out the process
For sure.
to have a signed listing agreement at a reasonable market value, so that I can represent your sale and get that locked up. And then we can decide when we want to market the property. The further along you are in the process of listing your house and having it under contract, the less of a big deal that contingency is, right? So if we have that process, if we at least know where we're at on that, I'll have that handy and you'll know where you're at and feel comfortable with that, even if it's just to assure the sellers of your purchases. That's really important in this process. Is something I'd recommend doing actually first. And we can understand the whole scenario of where you're at. And you'll know what your purchasing power is. Does that sound great? Of course it does, because I'm so smart and that's a good idea and the truth. When's a good time to meet with you? 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock, today or tomorrow? Are you a weekday guy or a weekend person? Oh, we're better on the weekend. Cool. Is 1 o'clock on Saturday or 4 o'clock? 1 or 4 o'clock on Saturday better for you? 4 o'clock on Saturday. Awesome. I'll see you at your property, 4 o'clock on Saturday. We'll go through where you're at. We'll find out each of your criteria. I can even meet with you separately if you want to do that, but we can have that conversation once we understand where you stand on your property. And if it makes sense, we can get that paperwork prepared so that we're ready on your purchase. And we can make this real estate thing really easy for you. I know it's a stressful time in your life. That's cool, but I'm here to make this part of it smooth and easy. Does that make sense? Cool. I'll see you at 4 o'clock on Saturday. Click, shut the F up and see them at 4 o'clock on Saturday. Don't call and confirm. You just go to the house, prepared to take a listing, bring your paperwork, bring your sign, bring your lockbox, bring your cojones, show them what's up with the comps and where they're at. Understand if you know their criteria. I'm ready to go show you houses this afternoon. Be ready, be eager, and be prepared to be of service to them. And they're going to see that you have your shit together. You know what you're talking about, and they will be happy to sign up with you because that is going to be so much better than their cousin who's actually busy, doing something else that Saturday. Make sense? We're at 102. I forget who else. Oh, Cass, you raised your hand. We don't have to have everyone